You know when you're messing with somebody and you kind of keep them a secret, eventually you start to brag about them because you know they doing you right. And then as soon as you brag about them, they just really embarrass you. That's what Sephora did. What's up, y'all boys? It's your girl Frankie and I'm back with another video. As you guys can see from the title of the video, I'm going to be talking about my experience with being laid off from Sephora. But before I do start, I want y'all to know that I do not intend to bash Sephora at all in this video. So if you guys came here for a bashing, you might as well just click out the video because you will be upset. Some of the things that other people are saying is not what I experienced in this whole process. So Sephora was not my main source of income. I worked there part-time. I also have a full-time job that I still work for. So my perception and experience is going to be a lot different from somebody else. As you guys all know by now, Sephora laid off some of their part-time employees. They laid us off via a conference call. At the very tippy top of COVID, like really taking over and starting to shut down places, I had actually gone to vacation back home to Miami to go visit my family. That whole week is when everything like COVID really took over. Governors were shutting stuff down, events were getting canceled. At that time, Sephora was still open. My Sephora was still open. I had picked up 2 shifts for when I came back. My manager had already made the schedule for the following week. By the time I got back, it was closed, and basically what our manager had announced to us was that Sephora was going to close its stores and we were going to get paid. Maybe a day or 2 later, our manager had us all on a conference call with one another. We were going to get paid the hours that were already scheduled out, and that what they were going to do was pay us the average of our last 6 weeks worth of pay. You know, every store is different on how they communicated this, but my manager had specifically told us that right now they had approved for us to get paid until April 3rd. She was like, you know, if this continues on for like 6 weeks, you guys might get paid, but if we're looking at it like if we're closed for 6 months, you're more than not likely not going to get paid. I understood that very well because it is a business. So if the business is not making any money, you cannot pay anyone. So they made their announcements and everybody was like, oh my God, Sephora is amazing. They're paying their people and blah, 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 blah. I think that's where they messed up because they made that announcement and then well, they kind of created like this portal for us online. It was called Sephora at Home. We went in every day, we watched videos about brands, about products, and then we also did like video conference calls like with everybody from Sephora. So I think that was what, March 23rd was when they started us doing the Sephora at Home stuff. So the week that the store closed was a pay week. We got paid that Friday. So the Monday following was the first pay week of us not working and doing, you know, getting our 6-week average and getting the hours that we would have gotten if the store was open. So we've been doing that for like a whole week. And then the following week, the Monday, we had a conference call with everybody in Sephora where they talked about the brand new brushes that were coming out. And then the Tuesday, which was the day that, you know, they called us and laid us off, it was a really random thing. I was talking to my brother. He had like FaceTimed me, like maybe, I want to say he had FaceTimed me like 2 o'clock. And he was like, hey, just wanted to see if you still have a job. And I was like, yeah, I still have a job. You know, I'm working full time. They got us doing stuff. And then I was like, and Sephora is also paying us too. So he was like, oh yeah, that's really, really good. And I was like, yeah, that's great because, you know, they don't really have to do and blah, 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 blah. So that was at like 2 o'clock. Promise you, shit you not. About 2:30ish, I get a text from my manager from Sephora, and it was a text to me and 3 other people. She was like, hey, sorry for the really late notice. Can you get on this conference or this business call? It said business call. I'll see if I can remember to put a screenshot of the text into this. So it's 2:30 right now. So it's like about 30 minutes before 3 o'clock. I didn't really think anything of it. Because I was just like, you know, they've been wanting us to do all these conference calls and stuff like that. 3 o'clock comes on, I log on to the conference call, and you know, when you do conference calls like with Sephora, they want you to mute your phone or mute your device because it's so many people on the call. They don't want to hear people's background noise and all of that. So they had everyone mute their stuff. Whoever it was that was talking, it was a woman who was talking. I think she was our regional manager. So I'm in the Midwest region right now. I didn't hear what she said she was because, you know, it's a lot of noise and stuff on these conference calls. She was going to call out the names of the managers, like do a roll call to make sure that all the store managers were on. She asked all the store managers to do a roll call of all the people who are supposed to be on the call. The first person goes and she calls like 6 names, and like each person was calling like 5 or 6 names on the call. So I'm like, why are there only like 5 or 6 people from each store on this call? So then when my store manager called our names, it was only 5 of us. I realized that all 5 of us were like cashiers. So I'm thinking, okay, you texted us saying that you need to have a business call with us, and there's only cashiers on the phone. So I was like, well, they're either going to tell us that they can't pay us anymore, or they're going to have to do something for us. Maybe they need us to be beauty advisors or start beauty advisor training or something like that virtually. I don't really know. So she kind of starts off saying, you know, this has been a really rough time and blah, 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 blah. You know, this, what's going on in the country is crazy. And I'm like, okay, she's talking like she sounds remorseful. So I was like, okay, they're gonna tell us that we can't get paid anymore. So then she gets on, she's like, you know, we've just made a really tough decision, and we just want to let you know that everybody on this call will be laid off. And I was like, what? Like, what the fuck? So at the time I was listening to her talk, but I was texting my friends. And when I heard that, I was like, why does Sephora have us on a conference call right now firing us? And my friends are like, what? And I was like, yes. She's basically trying to explain like the reason why they came up with the decision to do so. So I'm sitting there listening. I'm like, damn, like, you know, I was hearing about other people losing their jobs, but you know, now I'm losing mine. Our last day would be April the 3rd. April the 3rd would have been the Friday of that week. We are still going to get paid our 6-week average and the hours that we were supposed to get work that we're gonna get paid for. They were laying us off and not furloughing us because they wanted us to be able to get unemployment. Okay, so that means I can't get my Sephora discount anymore. So the first question I was about to ask was, when is it, like, do we still keep our discount or what? And then she was like, yeah, so this Friday will also be the last day that you can use your discount. And I'm like, first of all, we're in the middle of a pandemic. Ain't nobody trying to spend no money right now. But damn, like, the least I could have did was let us keep the little discount we had. Sephora's discount is great. We get 30% off non-Sephora stuff, and we get 40% off of Sephora brand stuff. Now let me remind y'all, we just had a conference call the day before about these brand new Sephora collection brushes, and I was like, bet, I'm about to add all of these to my cart, because when this is over, I'm about to buy them. So I was like, oh my God. She basically told us, like, you know, it's gonna be a last day on the 3rd, that they're gonna give us a severance package, which will be 1 more week worth of pay. And that we would also be allowed to file for employment. This is where it gets tricky, because a lot of the other people saying that they would not let them speak on the call. This lady, you know, asked us if we had any questions, we can start asking questions. Basically, the lady told us, like, you guys were not fired, you guys were laid off due to an act of God. They told us that we were allowed to reapply once the stores opened, and we would be priority for rehiring. I heard after the fact that if you weren't less than 2 years at the store, you were going to be laid off. So most of the people at my store had worked there for a long time. There was people who had like just started at my store, but because they were beauty advisors, they were allowed to stay. So there is a difference, because a cashier can only cashier. A beauty advisor can, you know, apply makeup and cashier. I would say about 5 or 6 people asked questions. We were on the phone for like about 45 minutes. And they asked really good questions, and then, you know, explained everything to us. You know, at the end, the lady was like, you know, I'm really sorry about this. I know it's sudden. I know we made promises, but we realized that financially we wouldn't be able to afford to keep you guys, and we wanted you guys to be able to get unemployment benefits. So I was a little bit sad, because honestly, working for Sephora is a really good company. I can't speak for anybody else's experiences but mine. I know a lot of people have hated working there, but I worked at 2 different Sephoras in 2 different states, and I've had an amazing time at both of them. Everyone gets along with one another. Everyone is so helpful. It's just a really good working environment. And of course, you know, when you get to say you work for Sephora, you get a little clout or whatever. Like maybe 10 minutes after the call, I get a text from my manager saying, hey, I'm just really sorry about, you know, the news. Can I talk to you around 6:30 tonight? And I was like, yeah, that's cool. And then she calls me, and then she was just like, hey. And you can like hear it in her voice that she like felt bad. Like you could tell she felt bad. Honestly, my store managers are really, really sweet, really, really nice. So you know that the emotion was genuine. And I was like, hey. She was like, I'm just so sorry. She was saying like she felt really bad. They had just told them right before they made us, you know, schedule the phone call, So she didn't even expect it, and she, you know, needed the time to kind of just gather her thoughts and get more information. So that's why it took like about a 3-hour gap before we actually spoke on the phone. Plus, I'm sure she had to call the other 4 people that were on the call. She was just like, you know, I really need you. You're one of my, you know, good employees. I appreciate you at the store. You know, your performance is good. I'm really upset that I'm losing you. I'm really upset that I'm losing all of you guys because you guys all work well. And basically she told us, like, you know, when the store reopens, we need to reapply. She definitely wants us to come back. Obviously it's going to take some time because when the store reopens, people are not going to just be anxious to shop. So it's going to take a time for, you know, the store to pick back up, and, you know, it'll probably be around the fall before we start working again. So I was like, okay, I understand. And she was like, you know, I just feel really, really bad because I know like this is a time where, you know, people need all the money they can get. And I was like, you know, I understand. I do feel bad because I'm going to lose that, you know, source of income. But I was like, I also have another job. I feel bad for the people who like Sephora is their only job, because now you have nothing after the company promised you that they were going to pay you. So I can understand why people are upset about that. I would have loved if they, you know, just kept us and just didn't pay us. But again, you wouldn't be able to apply for unemployment benefits. And I don't know how it works at Sephora, but I know when I worked at Ross, like if you didn't work for 8 weeks straight, you were like automatically terminated by the system. So I don't know if they would have like automatically terminated us anyway. And she was like, okay, well, you know, like I'm really, really sorry. And I was like, girl, it's okay. Like I understand. So we hung up the conversation, and like that was that. I was sad, but I mean, it's life. But I do understand why other people, like, if this is your only source of income and your company promised you that they were going to pay you, and then within a pay cycle they fired you, I would, you know, be upset too. So I'm not gonna lie. I know like all the people are saying that they fired all of their part-time employees. I can't speak for all the other regions, but I know specifically for our region it was like 5 or 6 people from each store. Other people were saying that they weren't allowed to ask any questions on the call or anything like that. They just kind of told them they were fired and hung up. Other people were saying that the severance package was nothing that you need to file for unemployment anyways. They literally let us go so that we were able to file for unemployment. So I think, I don't know, people were just like, boycott the store and blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, don't boycott the store because I need to come back to work. Do I feel bad about being let go? Yes, because again, I enjoyed working there. I feel like my manager said from the very first meeting, like if this continues for, you know, a couple more months, I don't think they're gonna have a job either. You don't know what's going on right now. I just wish that y'all would stay at home so that way we can get out of home already. I'm really enjoying not being able to go to work. I really am enjoying working from home. I'm not gonna lie, because I just feel like this is the break that I needed from work. I love Sephora. I'll definitely reapply to go back. It was a great experience for me. I don't think you guys should, you know, boycott the store. Like if Sephora's not making any money, now they can't pay those people as well. I feel like that was probably the best decision that they did. They let people go so that they could file unemployment, because I know from my full-time job, they're purposely not letting people go so that they can't file for unemployment. So it's, you know, how your company is acting right now tells them everything you need to know. And I feel like Sephora tried, and they realized that they weren't going to be able to afford to keep everybody and pay them like they thought they would. So yeah, that's my experience from being laid off from Sephora. If you have any questions or anything like that, put them in the comments below. Anything else you want to say, you can put that in the comments too. Make sure you tell a friend to tell a friend to tell a friend to subscribe to my channel. And until the next time, I'll see y'all boys later. Bye.